Hello everybody out there in YouTube land. I am Geek Girl Claire, and today we're going to be reviewing the newest super speed guide from Tamiya. Yes, this is the Evo edition, I suppose. It's got the Ryzan here, and the previous edition of this was the one that had this one right here, the orange Astora. Very, very cool. Now, this super speed guide always contains this measurement tool right here. And the measurement tool is useful for measuring things like whether your car is within spec. So we're going to take a look at that, and we're also going to go through every page of the guide, page by page, in thorough detail, so you can see all of what you are getting in your guide. Now, if you are ordering from the United States, you're going to be expected to pay around $23, $26. It's on the Tamiya website right now, the Tamiya USA website. You can order this from there. That's how I got my copy of it. But you can also order this via eBay as well in case Tamiya USA does run out. So I've seen copies of this and other speed guides and the design guides, which are usually blue and green, on eBay as well. And sometimes you can catch really nice deals on those guides. So you might want to check out eBay, you might want to check out Tamiya USA for a source for purchasing these guides. Very, very cool. We're going to be shooting the breeze also while we are looking through the guide. So it's not just about looking through the guide, it's about talking about all things mini four-wheel drive and some things that are not so mini four-wheel drive, but that's okay, because that's what we're all about here. We're all about geekdom. So yes, Geek Girl Claire, geekdom. So we're going to check it out. So first things first, we're going to take a look at this tool right here. And if there's anything different about this tool versus the last time they published a guide like this. So this guide here was from, I believe, 2023. This is the newest one from 2025, 26. And here, on the back of the guide, here, you can see this is the tool. And the back of this guide here, this is the tool. And if you take a close look at the two of them, they look exactly the same. So you are getting the same exact tool in both guides, as far as I can tell. Typically, there are changes, but in this case, there's not. When we went from the orange guide to the red guide, there was a change. There was this part here, I believe, is different. This part here, which is basically technically an FRP plate, and it's showing you the holes and what they mean on an FRP plate like this. And I call this plate the bat wing, although other people may call it something different. So there you go. That's one one way of describing this, a bat wing, because it kind of looks like, yeah, a Batman symbol, as you see here. Very cool. So let's set this aside. And as you see, the back of this includes like a well-designed tune class car on here. So sometimes it's an open class car, but here, oh wait, no, this is open class right here, because this is like a trimmed part. It's a cut part. But this one here is more tune class than open class right there. So I guess it all depends on the year that it's published. So here we go. Lots of crumbs from my buns. So I get pineapple buns from this new place. It's actually under an old storefront. It's under Casey's Pastries in Chinatown in Philadelphia. And they're now housing products from this place called Super Bow and Cake Girl. And so yeah, you can get, if you like pineapple buns, pineapple custard buns, they have 4 or 5 different varieties of pineapple custard buns. They are very, very good. So here we go. Let's begin page by page, what's inside. So here we have, oh, look at this. This is the 2025 to 2026 Super Speed Guide. This is the large format guide, which is usually like, here's this size of this guide. So this other one, this guide that you see here, is usually in a magazine format that's like a bit higher than this and a bit wider than this, and a little thinner though, because this is a pretty thick digest kind of guide. So it's more like a magazine format, and that's on order. So you're going to be seeing page by page of that as well at some point. So very, very cool. Oh, the thing that was peeking out over here, full disclosure, I just ordered this Deco Color Premium Prime pen. So it's silver, and as you noticed in the way that I design a lot of my cars, I always mark where the positive terminals are in my cars. So that's helpful for like in pinch time when I'm racing and I don't want to think too much about things like putting my batteries in place. Which direction do they go? Well, I have actually reversed the batteries in a car one time and my car went backwards and that was so embarrassing. So ever since that time, some 5 years ago, I decided to mark where the positive terminals are on each side of the battery compartment. So yeah, there's actually a little marking right here. You can kind of faintly see it in the light, but yeah, they do say positive and positive, like where it should be, and negative and positive where it should be on the other side, but it's hard to see unless you tilt at an angle, right? So here I can easily see where the positive is because I marked it such way, and I can easily see where the positive is on that side because I marked it that way. And so yeah, this is the thinner version of the pen that I was using before. The pen that I was using before was like a wide tip, and now this is a fine tip, and you can see how thin the tip is. Oh, if I can get this open. There we go. Check that out. It's a very thin tip. Yes. So that will allow me to draw more precise lines in here. So yes, very, very cool. So yes, get one. It's under $5 for this. You can order it through Amazon. Very, very cool. Yes. So let's close this up. And many of you who have watched my How to Build a Better SFM BMAX car will have seen this car. And yeah, it's even more modified than it was before. I decided to put these on top. As you see here, now we've got ones in the front and the rear. I was thinking about also shortening the screws, but I think this is just fine. It fits in the box fine, and this will provide more additional stabilization because it's higher up here like this. So yes, I lowered the roller from like here back down a little bit so that the rollers are more in line with the center of gravity where the batteries are. Yeah, so there, that fits better with my philosophy on designing cars. Very, very cool. So now without further ado, let's open the pages and see what's inside. So here we have table of contents. I don't read Japanese, but if you've got a translation device, you can see what this exactly says, and we'll proceed from there. So, ooh, look at this. This is a Thundershot polycarbonate cowl. It looks to be basically Tune Class right here. Yeah, and it's probably the car that's on the rear. Yes, it is. Yes. And probably this is the man who designed this car and probably won a race with it. So it's got 24mm wheels. It's got the AR spec mass damper system in place. It's basically the cylinder roller as well as the hamburger top on top of that. Very, very cool. It's got plastic rollers on the top. And ooh, what's going on in the bottom? It looks like there's a large brake plate, like 3mm, but it's really like maybe it's 1mm followed by 2mm followed by 1mm. Underneath there, you can kind of see it. Let me point this out because that might be worth mentioning. So yeah, some people like to layer their brake pads, and probably a lot of you know that if you were to use, well, there's no such thing as a 4mm brake pad, but if there was like, say, a 3mm brake pad, that's going to have different performance characteristics than 3 1mm brake pads kind of like layered on top of one another. So you'll have to experiment and see what I mean by that. So yeah, it is a different kind of braking depending on what you need to do. So the difference, why is it different? Because there's a layer of glue between each one, right? The adhesive, and that's on the back of the sponge, is going to be it's going to yield a different characteristic than if you were to have one single 3mm sponge. So there we go. It looks like to be 1mm, 2mm, and 1mm. So I have never considered this, and that sounds quite cool. It seems quite cool. So very, very cool. And what is happening here? It looks like there's that ball joint coming out here. Is this thing swinging up and down? That's very interesting. Let's take a quick peek again at what's happening here. You can't really see it on this picture right here, but if that's really what's happening, that's pretty cool. So what is this thing in the center here? I have no idea. We're going to have to take a closer look when we get to that point in the book. Very, very cool. So I know that we've already spent 10 minutes and we haven't even turned past the table of contents page yet, and I apologize for that, but we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Yeah, there is the high mount stabilizer, and it appears to be aluminum lock nuts right here, a spacer followed by perhaps a 13mm roller, followed by a spacer, followed by the carbon plate, and it looks like, He's angled this using these plates right here. How ironic that I actually have this out while we're studying this, right? So he's got this under the plate, and he's got these two things that are probably those little red hook looking things for his rollers right here. Or they could just be simply two plates that are like sandwiched one on top of the other. We'll see when we get a closer look at this. And what appears to be a 2mm brake pad on the front. Very, very cool. So let's turn the page finally, and let's see what we see. So introduction page, we see here, an exploded view of the new Cross Spear 02. Here we go, very, very cool. And the Cross Spear is one of the newer kits in the Mini 4-wheel drive lineup. It is a VZ chassis style car, and as you see here, oh yeah, so they're using alkalines in this one. I think they're using alkalines. I think those are Power Champs or alkaline batteries, I believe. And so yeah, this is just an exploded view of the Cross Spear. And yes, here we have an exploded view of the Ryzan, the new ME chassis car. Yes, a lot of you who've purchased the ME chassis cars. What's so significant about this? It is the third in the lineup of Pro motors, right? Pro motors are the double shaft motors. So instead of single shaft, like what you see here, a shaft coming out in one way only, there's, in this one, a shaft coming out in both directions, forward and behind. So double shaft motors, a little more torquey than single shaft motors, and a lot of people prefer these double shaft motors for the fact that the motor is in the center of the chassis, so the weight distribution is going to be like, it's called a midship design, where everything's in the middle, the weight is in the middle, and that's typically, if you want a balanced car, that's where your weight should really be, towards the center of the car, and then it becomes like really, really nicely balanced. So for single shaft cars, they typically have the motor on the front or the rear, so most are rear mounted motors. So this is a rear mounted design where the weight of the car is towards the rear of the vehicle, whereas with FMA chassis and SFM chassis, the weight is towards the front. So that would be called a front motor kind of weight, a front motor chassis. So yeah, midship design, this mid-weight design, is typically better for a more balanced vehicle. So a lot of people kind of like, they try to design suspension systems around the fact that it's such a well-balanced car. So an MS chassis, for example, very bulky looking chassis, but with the right tools, you can create it to have a suspension design so that there are springs, shock springs, inside the front and the rear portions of the car so that you can provide shock absorption, which makes the car a lot more stable off of incline jumps. Yes, because once it finishes the jump, it lands, and the shock absorption springs just produce a nice soft landing so that the car can continue moving forward. Whereas if you didn't have that same shock suspension, your car would be kind of like bumping off of the track itself and then going up a little bit midair and then maybe bouncing back down, going up midair, bouncing back down. So it'll be like a kerplunk, 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 and then goes on. Whereas the shock absorption, one soft landing and then forward. So typically, cars with suspension chassis are supposed to be overall more efficient and faster than non-suspension chassis cars. And by faster, I just mean because they're more efficient, you tend to go more in a straight line. So off an incline, down, land, soft landing, and you just continue on versus kerplunk, kerplunk, kerplunk. And then finally, when it stops kerplunking, then it continues on. So every kerplunk that a non-suspension chassis car makes is the possibility of it coursing out or flipping off the track or maybe possibly landing into another lane. And that's not cool, right? Now, this is not to say that MS suspension cars are the be-all, end-all and they will always stay within their lane, but they will basically, because of the suspension parts, mitigate, lessen the possibility of these cars bouncing out and landing in another lane or out of the track entirely. So that's why we want suspension chassis if we can make them. So a fair number of people have been trying to produce suspension chassis for MA chassis, and some people have started designs for the ME chassis, this one right here, the newest Ryzan, and there have been people attempting to make suspensions for non-midship design cars as well. In other words, the single shaft motor kits. And so you would have to make the suspension kind of like outside of the chassis rather than cut into the chassis and make it a part of the chassis. So yeah, there are some design decisions to be made to get your suspension working. Now, in the past, there used to be this product, and it was a pretty cool product, and it is called the semi-pneumatic tire set. And with the semi-pneumatic tire set, you can create like kind of a faux suspension. So I'm going to show you right here what that is and how that could potentially be useful for you. Here is a semi-pneumatic tire and wheel set. It's just a pair of them. So you need two of these if you want to get front and rears. And it's item number 15239. And so you see here, it's got these really bubbly tires. It's like soft and spongy. It's like hollow. And then it's got plastic wheels, and you place the tire over the wheel like so. And so you've got this faux suspension such that when the car lands, it's like a soft landing and it continues on. Now, why aren't we seeing more of these on cars these days? It's because this is not the fastest tire wheel combination, and also, while it does absorb some shock, there's also still the possibility that your car will bounce out and jump into another lane or course out entirely. So it doesn't like completely remove the possibility of your car coursing out. And off of an incline, like anything can happen with these wheels, unfortunately. So the hope is that what people do is that they add some things to this tire wheel combination. What I've seen some people do is underneath the tire, and for some odd reason I can't remove this off completely. I can't remove it at all. But what some people do is they put sponge brake inside, like lining the plastic wheel first, and then they cover it with the tire. And that provides an additional amount of absorption when it lands on the track and then continues moving forward. So you can try that, you can experiment with that and see how that goes. Some people have used black brake sponge for that, and I believe the black brake sponge, you can purchase that through one of those underguard kits. You'll get some of that black sponge tape on there. And I think they also sell it separately too in the green black brake sets. So you can check them out when you can. I think I'll list the item number here and you can go find them. Yes, very, very cool. So continuing on. Next page, page 4. What is tuning up? So they have a very short description here of what it means to tune up your car. And here we have the front and the rear. And so you see there are different combinations of things that you can do to improve the performance of your car, like adding these aluminum rollers. These rollers have plastic rings on them, which will give you different characteristics around cornering than ones that just have all aluminum on them. And then there's also these side mass dampers, which add weight to the sides of the vehicles, and you want to try to get the weight as close to the front wheels as possible. You also have the front rollers right here, and depending on what size rollers you choose, you can get better cornering or better stability. So some people like to put just one set like this on here. Other people like to put 2 sets of rollers on the front. And we also have the engine is an important decision to make depending on the track. You might want to, in tune class, for example, use torque tuned or atomic tuned. A lot of people don't use rev tuned because it's really slow around corners. So here you can also choose the speed gear as well. Most people choose this light blue yellow combination, but some people have been known to use green and yellow. And some people who are even more like savvy with their tunings will use the black gear, a 4-to-1 gear ratio, because they might use a really powerful motor and they might want to kind of like lower the speed a little bit, but also increase speed around corners. Yes, so there are many, many very successful racers using 4-to-1 and even 5-to-1 gear ratio cars. Very, very cool. And here's the rear right here. It's basically showing you the rear view of the same car here. And here we see that it's got, instead of using the plastic palms for the bearings, it's using what appears to be 620 palms in here for the bearings. Very, very cool. Is it 620? I think it's 620. Yes. So here we have double shaft atomic tune motors versus single shaft atomic tune motors. I don't know why they decided to change the colors, like depending on single versus double shaft. So single shaft 3.5 to 1 gear ratio is this blue-yellow combination, whereas on Pro motors, double shaft, midship designs, it's a green-pink combination. I think it would have been less confusing if they simply stuck to the same colors on both styles of cars, whether it be single or double shaft. So that's just my opinion on the whole matter, but people are used to this now, so yeah, everybody knows this is 3.5 to 1 gear ratio, the fastest gear available, and this is 3.5 to 1 gear ratio on single shaft, the fastest gear ratio available. So other things you might want to consider, you can see it kind of faintly, but there's a ball bearing here that you can place inside the speed gear. Same here, you can place these little smaller ball bearings into this right here, the speed gear. And then there's the counter gear, yellow, and here, pink. And so these usually, they don't require any sorts of gears in there. So yeah. And here we have a fluorine-coated gear shaft that's above the regular steel shaft. So these fluorine-coated gear shafts are coated with a special thing, a special, is it chemical or some sort of outer coating that allows the shaft to be more slippery so that the gear can roll faster around it. Yes, now just because you're adding all these parts does not mean that your car will automatically become faster. You have to basically know how to lubricate these parts and treat them with care, right? So after every race or 2 or 5, you'll need to refresh your cars. And by that we mean you need to clean the bearings, you need to re-lubricate all of those bearings and washers and things like that that create that speed in your car. So bearings need to be oiled, for example. Shafts need to be lubricated with oil. And so we have this thing called the oil pen. And so the oil pen is a necessary, it should be a required purchase for all of you mini four-wheel drive fans out there. This one's kind of faded out, but as you see it says here, applicator, right? So it's the black oil pen that Tamiya sells. And where's the item number? Item number here. I'm going to find that for you. And just purchase that. That's a necessary purchase, required. Okay, next page. Okay, so here is the Tamiya Play Model Factory in Tokyo, where they have a sample track for you to play test your vehicles. They sell a lot of great Tamiya mini four-wheel drive, and I think some non-mini four-wheel drive products as well. You could purchase everything from this store, and yeah, that's pretty cool. And I believe the basement area, from what I've seen in videos, you can actually build your cars there, and then you can race them on the sample track that they have. That's pretty cool. So yeah, they have play model factories in different places. So it's not just Tokyo that has the play model factory. There's other places that have the play model factory as well. So okay, chapter, unfortunately they don't have one in the US. So that's why we rely on local hobby stores. And sadly, because all of these manufacturers are deciding that, hey, we're going to do direct mail order, suddenly we don't have a hobby store to play test our cars on anymore. So you see, we need hobby stores, guys. AAA Hobbies is going out of business, unfortunately, and other hobby stores are going out of business, and so it's going to be very difficult to find like actual physical places that actually serve mini four-wheel drive customers properly. And hopefully, of the remaining stores that are available in the United States and elsewhere, hopefully they'll be able to serve us mini four-wheel drive fans properly. And that's no thanks to a lot of the manufacturers who just decided to like say, oh, we're just going to do direct mail order. No, we need hobby stores. You guys have to get back on the plan, you manufacturers out there, and just do what you did before and support local hobby stores. We need to bring them back, definitely. Okay, so chapter 1 here, it looks like there's a lot of box stock cars, right? Yeah, let's find out about some of them. What's this? Ooh, the new Nero, Avante Nero. This is the Advanced Pack, MS Advanced Pack. It's a new product, yes, relatively new. And here's the new Ryzan, here's the Crossspear, and here's the Crossspear 01, Crossspear 02. And we got this other thing here. What is that? A Raikiri, yes. And we have here, oh, this looks like, oh, look at right here. The Astral Stir. I had it right here. Yeah. Except without the tiger sticker because, ooh, the tiger sticker is valuable. So yeah, I like to not stick the tiger sticker on my car. I have this as a separate thing. I think I stuck it somewhere else. Yeah. Because it's so cool. So yeah, very, very cool. And we also have this, the Grasshopper. Yes, a lot of you know this as an RC kit, and now it's in mini four-wheel drive version. Very, very cool. So let's turn the page. This is going to be a longer video than I thought, right? Because we're shooting the breeze. So here's VZ chassis right here. These are the performance characteristics of VZ chassis. I can't read that, so you can scan that using your Google Translate device, and you can read that, hopefully. And here, yes, the different performance characteristics of VZ chassis. So here, it's kind of telling you right here that the front of the car, your angled rollers should be about 5 degrees. Cool. I think I have some cars that just have 3 degrees, and that might not be enough, but it seems to have worked out for me. Like my B-Max car here, which also won Tune Class, this is not 5 degrees. I think this is 3 degrees. Yeah, and that's because of the double plates right here. Now, you want to use FRP plates, guys, because there's more play in them. When I used carbon plates, these rollers stood straight up vertical. That's not good. With FRP plates, they maintain some tilt on the front. And oh yeah, a cool tip is to take your black Sharpie and just color the front part of the plate. Because if you don't do that, the front part of your plate will look like this. It'll look ugly. It'll be like this white color right here. You see that? Yeah, so you want to make it black. Just like a carbon plate, right? Carbon plates are all black all over. Yeah, so you want to make it look cool. Yes, use your Sharpie. Very, very cool. Okay, so here are some VZ designs right here, the Neo VQS. Everybody loves the Neo VQS, don't you all? Yeah, they have one of the polycarbonate cowl, the Japan Cup 2020 version. Very cool. Here's the Honda E for those of you who like small compact cars. Dual Ridge, a favorite design amongst many of you. Very, very cool. This is a very fast car, by the way. And next page, Toyota Yaris, another fast car, although it is a little bulky, right? So you got to be careful with this one because it's so heavy. Iron Beak, Glitter, very fast car, but it has the tendency to course out just because of its weird design. Race Beer, very, very fast car, but again, another car that has a tendency to course out a lot just because of its weird design. I've had this flip over upside down on me, but it would still move forward. So yeah, you have a chance, if you take off the tail wing, you have a chance for this car to continue moving forward even though it's flipped upside down. So that might be an advantage right there. It might be a feature, right? So keep that in mind. Supervante Jr., all of you know that in my video that I produced, this is a super fast car, and I considered it to be one of the faster VZ cars out there. So Cross Bureau 1, Cross Bureau 2, and Grasshopper Jr., the newer ones. So let's see, anything else here from VZ? No, it looks like that's it. So if I were to review, give you like my honest assessment of which is the fastest of all of these VZ cars, I would have to say that my personal favorite speed car would be the Glitter. I have this in the Kumamon version, which is, imagine this all in yellow, and instead of the person that you see there, there's a black Kumamon bear in the center. That is my fastest VZ car. And there are other VZ cars out there, right? There's Sally Racer, but this is faster. This was described by my friend Joe, who is a very prominent racer in the mini four-wheel drive community. He described it as a beast. So, so your mileage may vary, but this, I believe, if I were to say, if someone were to ask me which is the fastest VZ, Glitter would be it. So yeah, very cool. The standard Glitter is really fast too, but that Kumamon version, for whatever reason, it is faster. Yes, very, very cool. But they're all very fast. VZs are very fast in general. So your mileage may vary on all of these. Some of you might find that this is your fastest. So yeah, you just have to kind of experiment. So, but you can't go wrong with this one. All right, so I would say this is my first choice, and this is likely my second choice in terms of speed of cars, because I have the black version of this, the black special, and it is the car that won me a lot of box stock races. So there we go, first and second right there. Now, FMA chassis, what do we have here? We have here, yes, the performance characteristics of FMA chassis compared to VZ chassis back a couple of pages. So, as you see here, different performance characteristics. It's better at certain things than other things. So I'm going to leave you with the ability to perhaps scan this page using Google Translate, and you can find out what these characteristics are. And here are the various like sample FMA chassis cars. There is a mini four-wheel drive starter pack with a Rowdy Bull in it. This is a black translucent body. It's not solid black, so this is a feature. This is like really cool about this car. You also get an atomic tune motor in it. Very, very cool for, I think, the small sum of $26 or so, $26.50, something like that. So very good deal because you get all these parts with it. You get these FRP parts, you get the side mass dampers. So yeah, you want to consider getting this to learn how to build a good tune class car. So I have read in comment sections from snobby people on Reddit about how like Force Labos kits are like not all that and stuff like that, but don't you believe it? Because they are like the pioneers of like fast racing cars. So a lot of people who criticize things like that, I'm not going to say that they don't know what they're talking about because a lot of them are professional racers, but like Force Labo, you got to respect them. They're the ones that created the BMAX class. They're the ones that test like the limits of how fast cars can be. So if you're kind of dissing Force Labo, you're dissing the entire mini four-wheel drive community. No doubt. So please don't do that. Please don't disrespect any like major group out there that's like producing good stuff for all of you people to enjoy. It's a blessing to have kits made by Force Labo to share with all the world. It's like really awesome. So yeah, and proof of this, proof of all of the respect people have with Force Labo is as soon as a kit comes out on Force Labo's website, as soon as a kit is announced, it's usually sold out within hours. So that's kind of proof that Force Labo knows what it's doing. So yeah, Force Labo has my respect. It should have your respect. I don't know why people would disrespect Force Labo. I think they're silly for doing so, but anyway, that's just them. So anyway, Baron Viento, which is a really cool looking design, but it's not as fast as it could be. Like it has a tendency to flip out of the track just because the weight distribution of this canopy is just so weird. We have Rowdy Bull, the blue, the original version of this black translucent version. So this I would consider to be the black special of this. Triarong, which is an okay car. Night Hunter, which is an okay car. Lord Guile, which is in the same vein as Baron Viento, which is just an okay car because of this weird design. It's just going to course out more often than not. Copper Fang. A lot of people have great luck with this one. Even though it's got that weird design, I think if you remove the tail, you've got something that still maintains all the characteristics of the FMA chassis, which is the front-mounted motor design. So as you see here, the motor is towards the front of the car, meaning that this car will be like a lot better off of inclines than rear-mounted cars like VZ. Like see, the motor's towards the rear here, as is most mini four-wheel drive cars these days. And here we have front-mounted FMA chassis, just like SFM is front-mounted motor. So yeah, because it's maintaining the front-mounted motor weight distribution, this is a really strong car, and so you should consider it. This one also, a lot of people love this, right? They love the Geo Glider. It is only 4:1 gear ratio, but it's got these big tires on it, so a lot of people love that about this. I personally don't think it's any faster than some of the cars that we'll talk about in the MA chassis range coming up. So yeah, your mileage may vary. There is a version called the Black Special of the Geo Glider, which comes with maroon low friction tires. That is a super fast car if you get that. It's got a carbon reinforced chassis, but a carbon reinforced chassis breaks easily. So basically it's like kind of worthless after a few races. After a lot of heavy races, that is. It's a few races on a heavy track, let's put it that way, where the track causes like a lot of bumps and things. So if you've got digital curves, you're going to totally mess up your Geo Glider with this carbon reinforced chassis. And same goes with Mach frame and its Black Special car, which also has the same carbon, or it's the same carbon reinforced chassis, but it's a different color. So instead of white carbon reinforced chassis on the Geo Glider Black Special, there's a black carbon reinforced chassis in the Mach frame Black Special. So here we have the Gunbluster XTO Premium, and a lot of people love this car. A lot of people think that it is the bomb because it's so heavy. This basically, like if you're getting a mock frame, for example, so like this was the meta of all Tamiya mini four-wheel drive cars at one time. People were using this to win all sorts of races, and if they weren't winning with this, then they would try to win with this, because this is like a lot heavier. The whole thing is weighted down a lot more so than this one. So if you weigh this one versus this one, you'll see this one's heavier. It's heavier towards the front as well. So because it's so heavy, it keeps the car down low on the track. And off of inclines, it'll be the first one to actually land. So this is like, if it's not meta, it's meta 2. Now the Razorback's got that same kind of like, it's got like the same heaviness to it, but the heaviness is focused on the rear of the vehicle, not the front, so it ends up becoming a more balanced car. So it becomes, the weight distribution ends up being more like towards a midship design. But the negative about this is it's 4.2 to 1 gear ratio right here. So because it's got the large wheels, that's supposed to help compensate for the fact that it's got that slower gear in there. But make no mistake, on the right track, this is a pretty fast car in its own right. And because the canopy is so large like this, you can actually fit a figure, an animal figure, underneath it, and it'll look so cool. Yeah, I actually had a car called Ganesha, in which I had this whole body like this, and I had my little elephant poking out underneath here. It was adhered to the battery lock on here, so that was pretty cool. Moving on here to the Brocken-Gigant Premium. Some people consider this to be superior to this, and some people consider this to be on the same level as the mock frame. However, the weight characteristics of this and this are very similar. It's just, for whatever reason, like there are certain things you can do with this that you cannot do with this, and I won't get into details about it because we can actually spend like a whole video discussing why this is actually superior to this. But yeah, let's just say that very prominent racers out there have used this to win box stock races, including myself. Using this to win races. Like this I would consider on certain tracks to be the meta. So yeah, consider this one and maybe this one as 3 like meta cars. So we'll get back to that. So Great Magnum R, I don't have much experience with this other than that it looks really cool. Cosmosonic, I will say that I have taught a course on for beginners on how to build FMA chassis cars, and I built the car along with 20 different families, and yeah, we then raced them around a track to see who's got the fastest car. I just built mine like right in front of everybody, and my car still ended up being like faster than other people, and then somebody took my car and exchanged it with his or her car. So that's I think there's something to be said about this car. It's just a standard car. It doesn't have what appears to be like much in terms of performance characteristics, but built the right way, this can be a very speedy car. So definitely keep this on your radar if you want to get like a basic car that's relatively inexpensive, that looks cool, and you can get lots of good performance, lots of good races out of this one. Okay, so now we move into probably what I call the ARG series. They're ARG because it's like they're not fast enough, right? But they look cool. Like this one here, this Philippine-style bus looks really cool, but it's only got a 4.2 to 1 gear ratio on a normal set of wheels and tires, right? So same wheel size as this, but this one's got 3.5 to 1 gear. This one's got 4.2. So of course, this is going to be faster than this one, almost always. The heaviness of this, the bulkiness of this is going to prevent it from reaching like the top speeds of this one or a mock frame. So same goes with this one. These two are even worse. These are just 5 to 1 gear ratios. So these are going to be super slow on your track. And the fact that they're asking you to mount these rollers on the sides versus the rear makes this car even slower, this truck even slower. So here, a smart person decided, hey, let's stop using the side mounts to put these rear rollers on. They just installed the rear plate, and there you go. That's where the roller should be, and so the performance of this one will be superior to this one, but don't they all look cool? That's what this one's all about, I think, the coolness factor, this column right here. So, turning the page, oh, suddenly we get to MA chassis. So let's go back here, and let's pick a top car that we like. Okay, so what is my pick for best car in FMA chassis? It's got to be the Mach frame, right? So a lot of people have been winning with Mach frames. They've been winning for years with Mach frames. This is the car to get. Like, even though it looks kind of weird, it's actually very, very adjustable in terms of style, right? So you can remove parts and make it look like a totally different car. You could, for example, remove the rear shield. You can remove the front nose part, and you get this one singular body cowl part that you can use as your cowl, basically. And it's so lightweight, this one. So imagine a very lightweight FMA car. It's, depending on the track, it's just going to flat out beat everybody else, right? So it'll even beat polycarbonate shell cars because of how lightweight just this single part body is. It's just awesome. Mach frames are awesome. And a lot of people will agree with this. Very, very cool. Now let's move on to MA chassis. MA chassis. What else could be said about MA chassis other than midship design, balanced car, and really, really, really good on 3-lane tracks? This is probably your go-to if you were racing on a 3-lane track, a technical track, a car that you need that's heavy enough, that stays on the track as best as possible. Now, having said this, very many MA chassis cars will fly off of tracks because they were not built properly, they're not balanced properly. For whatever reason, the owners of the kits decided to just kind of haphazardly build them and not follow all the instructions. As you see here, the angle of this should be 5 degrees, right? And so if your screws are standing up straight up, that's not good. You want to try to get them at an angle. So when you look at your cars from the side, you want to make sure that your rollers are in line with the top part of this chassis so that they are angled down at 5 degrees. That's what it should be. So some cars, depending on how you build them, depending on how you insert this roller screw, they could be not angled forward. They could be angled up and down, and that's not what you want. You want to try to make sure that you're angling forward when you are inserting the screw into the screw hole. Very, very important. A lot of people like to, when they attach screws, they just simply go top down. No, you got to kind of tilt at an angle down. So here from the side view, it goes something like this. Instead of top down, it's slight angle. I'm exaggerating a lot, but basically it's this way rather than this way. So very, very cool. Let's continue on with MA chassis. And here we see the Mini 4-wheel drive starter pack for MA chassis, the blast arrow, and you get a torque-tuned motor with it, double shaft. This is going to fly if you build it properly. Very, very cool. So a lot of you who are like new to tuning class, you're going to have to break in your motors properly to get the most speed out of them. So breaking motors in is an art form in itself, and I have several videos on my channel that describe how to break in various motors. So take a look at those on how to break in a tuned class motor. So here we have various examples of MA chassis cars: Blast Arrow, Heat Edge, Tri-Galley, Festa Johnny, and all of these particular ones have similar performance characteristics, so it's sometimes hard to tell what the performance differences are between these other than considering the tail weight and maybe the front part weight. So they might be slightly different. If you want to, you can just weigh each of these body cowls to see what the differences are from the front versus the rear of them and the sides as well. So very cool. And here are other MA chassis cars: Abolista, Rakiri, Shooting Proud Star, a favorite, God Burning Sun, Rise Emperor, Spark Rouge, Silwolf, DCR-01, Mad Laser, Dancing Divine Doll, DCR-02, Cannon D-Ball. And we have a lot more. Let's see. Toyota Gazoo Racing, Hexagonite, Toyota Gazoo Racing WRT Yaris, Chevrolet, Ignition, Toyota GR Supra, and the new ones, or newer ones, Astora, Steyr, and Lexus LBX Morizo RR. And that's it. Okay, so let me tell you about what I think the meta is. My first choice my preferred choice car out of all these MA chassis cars. I'm going to prefer one that has a polycarbonate shell over a non-polycarbonate shell, because MA chassis cars are usually heavier than non-MA chassis cars. So if you can, you want to try to get a car that is on the lighter end than the heavier end, but if you have a lot of technical turns, I'll just say a lot of cornering in your tracks, then you might want to forego, in other words, not get a polycarbonate shell car. So polycarbonate shell cars are great on straightaways. They're going to go demon fast on straightaways. But around curves, I think you need that extra weight to weigh it down a little bit. And you want to try to find cars that have 3.5 to 1 gear ratios versus 4 to 1 or 4.2 to 1 or anything higher than that. So a lot of people like DCR01s. They have large wheels and 4 to 1 gear ratios, but I've never found much success with them. Although there are a couple of racers that love these and have found great success with them. My son has used the Rise Emperor, and I've used the Shooting Proud Star, and as you see, these are 4 to 1 with large wheels, and we were successful in them, but we were beaten out eventually in future races by cars with 3.5 to 1 gear ratios. So you want to try to get a 3.5 to 1 gear ratio car if you can. My preferred choice, top choice, is this one right here, the Toyota Gazoo Racing TS050 Hybrid. It's a polycarbonate shell, very lightweight, but it's got the performance characteristics of, yes, MA chassis. And so I think this is, for me, the personal meta of all of these cars here. Very, very cool. Now, some of you might say, oh, what about the Festigiani Orange Special with the polycarbonate shell? It's got like that carbon printed one. Yeah, that's good too. However, that's a little too light. The fluorescent chassis is like way too light, way too brittle, way too fragile, and so that courses out a lot. So you have to be very careful with that one. You might have to weigh it down a smidge. So yeah, Festigiani Orange Special looks like this, except the cowl is this black carbon printed, not carbon, but carbon printed cowl. It's got an orange chassis, which looks really beautiful, but, and white rollers, but it's just not as awesome as we would like it to be for races. It's very fragile. So I would rather get something that's not so fragile like this. So yeah. Very, very cool. So let's move on to AR chassis. Very cool. And here's the performance characteristics chart of this. As you see here, yeah. And it looks like there's this specialty AR chassis truck. And yeah, it comes with these additional weird parts, I suppose. Very, very cool. It is a rear mounted motor design. And you see here, you would think that that because it's like wider on the front part here, next to the rollers, that it would be stronger than non-AR chassis. That's not always the case. I've broken the front parts of these roller mounts as well. It's like not as stable as we would like it to be, unfortunately. I think because there's like this large thing right here for each of these sides, it's probably more prone to getting this thing kind of like cracked off, or something here cracked off, like what usually happens. So yeah, it seems like it could be more reinforced, but it's not. So, and I just noticed right here, there's a weight for all of these chassis here. So this is 71 grams, I suppose, for this entire thing, versus 78 grams for this heavier MA chassis, versus 70.9 grams for this FMA chassis. Oh, so it's like the same weight, basically, as AR and FMA, about the same. And then VZ is 61.82 grams. You might as well just say 62. You might as well just round it up. Yeah. All right, so here, mini four-wheel drive starter pack, AR spec. And you get this stupid rev-tuned motor, blah, just throw it out and replace it with an atomic-tuned motor, or torque-tuned. We have an Aero Manta Ray, yuck, 4.2 to 1 gear ratio. Aero Avante, which is basically this, 3.5 to 1 gear ratio. Aero Thundershot, 4.2 to 1. In fact, I have one right here. It's pretty cute. Yeah, except the rear roller kind of like got messed up. So yeah, it just flew off. So it's not, as you see here, it looks like it's sturdy, right, on the rear roller mount. It's like very thick, but it's not that sturdy. None of this stuff is that sturdy around technical tracks. We have a Shadow Shark. So a lot of you know that I love my Flame Astute. I have a metallic Flame Astute, and that's won me races at Hobbytown and AAA Hobbies. And it's similar to the Shadow Shark. You see right here, Flame Astute. And so mine has the metallic cowl, red cowl, and metallic wheels as well. And I heard that there's a version of the metallic Flame Astute that comes with carbon reinforced wheels. And so I think that one's a very strong contender for being the meta of AR chassis. So here's the Lupine Racer with its slow 5-to-1 gear ratio, but it sure looks cool. Cyclone Magnum Premium, Diospada Premium, Z-Wing Magnum, Hurricane Sonic Premium. So the one that everybody loves is the one that comes with a polycarbonate shell, and it's really fast, and I suggest you get that. So we'll get back to that. We also have Beat Magnum Premium, Buster Sonic Premium, Great Plastonic, what a strange name, Tri-Dagger WX, Proto Saber Evolution Premium, and Beak Stinger G. So yeah, that's it for the AR chassis that they want to show. Okay, my pick for the meta of the AR chassis has to be the Hurricane Sonic, and I don't think it's this one, but it might be. It's the one that has the polycarbonate cowl. So yeah, do get the Hurricane Sonic, the one that has the polycarbonate shell. That is a very, very strong AR chassis car. So very, very cool. Other ones that are similar would be the Aero Avante Violet Special car. So that's another possibility. MS chassis. So here we go. Performance characteristics of the MS chassis. We've got a 70-gram chassis right here. Oh, it's actually like very, very similar to AR and FMA. And yeah, very, very cool. Very interesting. But once you add the suspension parts to it, it weighs it down a bit. So, but the funny thing is, you are putting the suspension parts in the front and the rear, so and equal parts right there. So even though it weighs it down, it's still, because of its midship design, it's still like balanced. So yeah, it's a very balanced chassis. It's just when you're racing this in box stock, it's kind of like stupid because the width of this is so narrow. It's 92 millimeters across between the rollers. And here we have, as you see, 97. The 5 extra millimeters in width actually keeps the car like within the lane much better than this. It's going to be like bouncing a lot between, and there's like a lot of space between the bouncing versus one that's wider and it has to bounce less distance to bounce between the walls of the track. So here we have some examples of MS chassis cars. Now, like I said, I would not race these in box stock. I would upgrade them to tuned or open class cars, MS chassis cars, because it's just like you're racing cars from yesteryear against modern chassis cars. And you might win a race or two, but you might get very frustrated and not want to continue racing many four-wheel drive cars if you're racing only MS chassis cars for box stock. But there are a lot of cool designs that are only available on MS, so things like this, the Turf Racer, which is like one of the more realistic cars that Mini 4-wheel drive has. Avante Mark II, which is kind of cool looking. Avante X is just cool looking. Hotshot Junior, cool looking. Thundershot, very cool looking. Everybody loves this Thundershot cowl. Neo Falcon. So a lot of the cooler cars are in MS chassis designs. Dash 1 Emperor, Avante Mark III Azure, which comes with hollow shafts, hollow wheel shafts as like a standard item. Very cool. And I think this has a polycarbonate shell as well. Avante Mark III Nero, Dash 3 Shooting Star, Tri-Dagger XX-2 Burning Sun, Spinax 2 with these tiny fluorescent wheels, Rising Edge, Astral Stir, the original one, not the Tiger one that I just showed you before, Dash 01 Super Emperor, and I think that might be it, right? Yeah, that's it. So, the meta of all of this, I would have to say would be this Avante Mark III Azure, because it's got the polycarbonate shell, and it's got hollow wheel shafts, so these will be more rigid than, and straighter than steel shafts. So yeah, you already get that as part of the box stock kit here, so why not use these performance advantages to your benefit? So yeah, this is the meta of MS chassis. Although some people love the X-Flowly one too, the one that has the polycarbonate shell. So that's another good one. That has a 3.5-to-1 gear ratio. And for some odd reason, that's not listed in this digest here. Then we go on to a more classic, older chassis. It's the VS chassis. Look at this, it's only 57 grams. And a lot of people still love this chassis, even though it's very fragile, even though you have to do lots of drilling to get to do anything interesting on it. You really can't expect this to be a box stock winner, although there are people still trying to win box stock races with this older style chassis, like the animal racers, for example. They're typically VS chassis. So yeah, there's a lot of love still for VS chassis, even though it's an old chassis. We have here an angle greater than 5 degrees. It's 6.5 degrees. Look at that. Maybe that's why people still love this car, right? That's pretty cool. 6.5 degree angle. Yeah. Slash Reaper. That's one of the cars that a lot of people love its design, but it's kind of slow for what it is. And I even broke in a motor that, like, I put in a really fast motor in this car, and I tried racing against other cars, and it was still dog slow compared to other cars that were non-VS. So I don't suggest Slash Reaper. This one, I love the Wolf in it. I love the big purple tires. I love the purple chassis, but it is dog slow also. And Koala Racer, same thing. It's like, it looks cool, looks cute, but it's slow. Same thing. Mach Bullet, slow. This one, it's still slow, even though it's got 4-to-1 gear ratio. It's better than these three, but it's still slow. So that's all they want to talk about for VS chassis. So out of these 5, which is the meta for these 5? None of them. Maybe this one. That's about it. I think this is probably faster than this one. So yeah, it's quicker around the track. Let's put it this way. So I had one that had a red cowl, and so I called it the Mini Cooper because this kind of looks like a Mini Cooper. So yeah, my Mini Cooper, which was not even VS chassis, it was Super 2, and so that was faster. That's definitely faster than these. But yeah, I would consider this to be probably the fastest of all of these. But yeah, let's just not talk about VS chassis, shall we? Let's just turn. Even though I have a VS chassis car that I know and love, and it's based on this, it's great as an open class car, but anything else, it's like, meh. Okay, now we move on to a fan favorite. It's the Super 2 chassis, and strangely, there are no performance characteristics for it because, like, everybody kind of knows about it since it came out in 2010. Let's see, VS, when did that come out? 1999. There we go. So yeah, here you'll see all of the dates of when they came out too. 2005, yeah, 2012, 2013, 2017, yeah, so here, 2010. A lot of cool looking cars here, a lot of animal racers. So Super Avante RS-1 Emperor Premium. Daihatsu Copen XMZ. This is the Mini Cooper I was talking about. The Super 2 version of this one. Dash X1 Proto Emperor Premium. Dash 001 Great Emperor Premium. This is the Polar Bear Animal Racer. The Panda Bear, the Dog, the Pig, the Owl, the Hawk. So, oh, they love Super 2 if they're devoting another page to this. The Cat, Panda, Magnum, Saber Premium. So this animal racer is superior to all the other animal racers that were just shown because it's got a 4-to-1 gear ratio in it. Oh, it looks like this one also has 4-to-1 gear ratio. So this is also good. It's got the big wheels too. This got small wheels. Out of the animal racers, this might be the meta for the animal racers. Although, we're just talking about Super 2 here. All right, so out of all the Super 2 animal racers, this is the meta. Just because it's got 4-to-1 and these large tires and wheels. Okay, so Sonic Saber Premium, Tri-Dagger X Premium, Victory Magnum Premium, Berg Kaiser Premium, Shining Scorpion Premium, Vanguard Sonic Premium, Race Stinger Premium, Beak Spider Premium, Spin Cobra Premium. Now, you might be wondering what's so premium about these, right? So, oh, more. And Mini Kumaman version, it says. So let's just come right out and say that 4-to-1 gear ratio in a Super 2 is like, it's okay. It's nothing super special. 5-to-1 is terrible. So you want to focus on 3.5-to-1 gear ratio cars in Super 2. I have tried to make this a super fast 4-to-1 gear ratio car. Because of these tire wheel combinations right here, it's just not going to happen for whatever reason. and that's okay. I've learned to make peace with it. I love the look of this car, but he's just not going to win many races. I did not know that this Panda racer actually is 4-1. I think this is probably a good, like I said, Super 2 animal meta. But if we were to choose like a regular car, even against the animal racers, we choose a regular car, I think this one right here, the Shining Scorpion Premium, or this one, Race Stinger Premium, it's got these side stabilizers that helps kind of like balance out the car a little bit more. I think this one or this one are going to be like really good choices for Super 2 if you were to choose just a Super 2 car to race. So yeah, these are my picks for the meta of Super 2. Now, moving on right along, we have here, oh, the Wild Minis. Now, the Wild Minis are like trucks, right? So these are trucks that aren't designed to be raced. They're meant for other purposes. They have these like obstacle course races, and you roll these giant trucks along these straight line obstacle courses. You can go over hills, you can go over things, and the object is to reach the finish line. And it looks very interesting. The tracks are long, but not like, they don't have curves and stuff like that. Although some might do. It's going to be more like you have to get your truck from point A to point B successfully than it is about speed, right? So all of these cars, all of these trucks, that is, are going to be slow, and they're going to be moving at a snail's pace. And you're going to be looking at them like, oh my God, life just slowed down by a snail's pace, to a snail's pace. And you're going to be like biting your nails while the cars attempt to slowly move from one end of the playfield to the other end, trying to get through all of the obstacles along the way. They might even hit each other. They might even like cause other mini four-wheel drive cars to course out. And it's fun watching that, but it's also like, it's not the high-speed kind of thing that a lot of you racers out there would want to see. But it's actually cool to own these just because these look kind of cool, like monster trucks, for example. So here we see Lunchbox Jr., Bullhead Jr., King Cab Jr., Wild Source, Toyota Hilux Monster Racer, Toyota 4Runner, Nissan Terrano, Land Cruiser, and the Mammoth Dump Truck. So which is the meta of these? That's up to you. I actually love the look of this. So just speaking about looks and not anything else, I like this just because of its like weird futuristic design. It's like got that post-apocalyptic design, you can call it. But a lot of you might just want something that's like more basic, like this, the dump truck. That's cool. That's very cool. That's grounded in reality. But this one here is like, to me, that's where it's at. Futuristic, post-apocalyptic world type stuff. Yeah, very cool. So that's the Wild Mini. Oh, there's still some more. There's this. The Toyota Hilux Surf, Toyota Land Cruiser, Mitsubishi Pajero or Pajero, and Suzuki Jimny Wide. Yes. And then we move on to these MA chassis cars. These are already mostly like pre-built. The chassis itself is already pre-built. You just put the cowl on top and you glue the little animal right in the center of it on top of the battery lock, and then you're done and you can race with it. It's like ready to race cars. However, the performance of these cars are just not going to be up to spec compared to the cars that you build yourself. Even if you're a bad builder, you can probably do better than what they did here. Like they rush built these cars, so you're not going to get the best performance out of these. What I have done successfully was take apart these cars and redo their insides, and then I would make them into fast cars. I would turn them into fast cars. So yeah, if you want to buy something that you want to check out like what the Tamiya people, the builders, did, you can take apart the car and see exactly what went wrong, and you can kind of teach yourself a lesson on how to not build a mini four-wheel drive car by looking at what they're doing. Because, for example, when they clip off the parts from the tree sprues, they don't actually clip off everything. So you'll get a little bit of like some burrs at the ends of certain parts, and you have to basically redo them to make everything smoother. So yeah, it's like a little 4 or 5-year-old kid put the car together, and that's probably what happened. Take a look next time if you do happen to purchase one of these. And they're like a good value for kids, because kids don't have the patience really to build these things, except for maybe my kid. So or when my when my young adult was a kid, then he was able to build these with the same precision that I built my cars with. Sometimes he was even better at it. So here is the Avante Mark III Nero Advanced Pack. This is the new MS Advanced Pack, and a lot of people like that black-red design. I think that's pretty cool. You only get a Light Dash motor with this, Light Dash Pro motor, but that's okay. Some people win with Light Dash motors. You just have to break the motor in properly, and then you'll get a good speed out of it. So you'll get like atomic tune speeds, basically, maybe a little bit faster than atomic tune speeds. But here, the reason why a lot of people don't like this kit is the fact that, look how you're mounting these mass dampers. You're mounting them like this with screws that are just reversed inward. Unfortunately, this reverse screw method is basically the only way to mount mass dampers onto the chassis easily, so that's just how it is. So here we have this new Fun Vroom car. It came out in 2025, and the Fun Vroom car is very similar to, or this one is very similar to the Fun Vroom car. This is the Kumamon version of the Fun Vroom car, and as you see here, it's got kind of a slow motor in it. It's got smallish wheels, right? These smallish tire wheel combinations for this, and it's very narrow, as you see here. This is more designed for fun, for kids, than it is for anything like serious. So I think, how did I paint this? I think I painted this with a paint pen, right? So you can do that. And that's why the wide paint marker is like so useful. You can like paint stuff like this very easily. Yeah. You can also spray paint. You can also do that. But I think I used the paint pen for this cage right here because it's just easiest to do it that way. And you also get these stickers to chrome these parts here. So a lot of good stickers. It's this black and red coloring again that people love. So yeah, very, very cool. So the easy chassis is described right here. As you see, it's not going to win any speed races at any point in time. It's got this weird gear set right here. And there's probably a way that you can make things faster, but people haven't been experimenting with this just yet. So yeah, as soon as I see some information about this, I will update you guys on it, about how to speed up your easy chassis cars. Very cool. Then we have the ME chassis, and yeah, this is the newest Ryzan style car, and they have other cars coming out soon, very soon, for ME chassis. Very, very cool. It's, as you see here, 70.9 grams. Oh, what else is 70.9 grams? The FMA chassis. Very cool. So yeah, this has got more like a VZ style rear in that you've got the double mounts in the rear, but it's got these different style rollers on the front and the rear. They're like aspirated rollers. By aspirated, I mean they've got holes in them. So that makes them slightly lighter weight, I suppose, than regular MA chassis car rollers. Possibly, yeah. So yeah, it seems to be, and here's the performance characteristics of ME chassis too. Very cool. Let's see what they are compared to MA and MS. So here is MS right here, and here is ME right here. And it looks like, yeah, it is different, definitely. There's more towards this top part here, whatever that is, and a little more towards the bottom part here. I don't know what that is. And also MA, let's see, MA is right here. So MA, so this looks more like MS. Hold on. Yeah, this looks very similar to MS in terms of performance characteristics. Here's MA and here's MS. So there's a little more towards that section right there than here, but otherwise it looks to be very similar, if not the same. Let's move on here. Comparing MA to ME right there. So what did they do here? Oh, okay, so comparing MA to ME right here. Yes, very cool. And here's the Ryzan that we talked about. And here they're talking about the aspirated rollers. Very cool. The mount points of the front part that's removable. Yes. So people have said that this looks very VZ chassis-like when you remove these front, the front part of the front plate of the Ryzan. Very cool. And let's see, let's continue on here to here. Part 2. So we were at part 1, weren't we? Yeah, we were at part 1. Now we're at part 2. And here, parts. What's this? I don't know. Chapter 2. it looks like performance improvements for your tuned class cars. And here's the car in the rear page. Yeah, the back cover. And it's got a sliding damper on it. Very cool. Here are some motors, atomic tune, torque, and light dash. Very cool. Let's turn the page. Oh, here we go. That's how to do certain things. Does this say here, you can put a bearing inside this gear? Okay. It says that you can use this box cutter to trim your tires. What? This is not tuned class anymore. What's going on here? Oh, don't scratch the track, perhaps. It looks like there's a lot of skid marks on it. Oh, battery, something to do with battery contacts. Maybe that you can't put sponge behind there anymore. Don't add other parts from other kits onto your car to make it look cooler. Yeah. I don't know what that says. So, what is this? It looks like the Grasshopper kit that they just amped up with a lot of tune class parts. So, yeah, I leave the page open for your Google translation skills. So there you go. Turn the page. Tools to use to build your cars. Oh, how to remove those little spurs off of these trimmed parts off of the tree. So look closely. This is how you do it. Yeah. And how to prepare your wheels, wheel and tire combinations. Very cool. Oh, yeah. You'll note that the hole that's inside each wheel, it's not a circle, but a hexagonal shape, a six-sided shape, because the shafts themselves, these things, these wheel shafts, are actually hexagonal, not round. If they were round, they'd all cause all sorts of problems. They wouldn't grip onto the hole inside here properly, and they'll just spin freely on them after a while. So the hex design keeps them locked in place, at least more locked in place than if it were a circular design for the shaft. So here we're using double-sided tape to make sure that the tire stays put on the wheel. Okay, how to install your gears and counter gears inside of a ME chassis cars. Oh, is this telling you how many times to turn this before you let up? Sort of like the method that I kind of figured out on my own? I don't know. So yeah, you figure this out yourself. Just scan this and tell me what it says. You can comment down below, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able to tell me. And here, how to apply the red parts onto your Ryzan car, and apparently how to apply some of the decals on, perhaps. These are the different upgrade sets. Like here's one, basic tune-up parts set for AR chassis. Very cool, and that's this one right here, the one with the green parts. Yeah, very cool. And so there's one for FMA, so the VZ one, it's not any of these. There's the VZ one, right there. And then this is a general one, I suppose. This is the AR one, this is MA, and this is FMA right here. So yeah, very cool. And these different kits come with different parts. Some of them come with mushroom caps, some come with regular ball stabilizers. So very cool. Here's the VZ chassis one installed on the ME chassis car right here. So they're telling you to use the VZ chassis parts kit for this ME chassis car. That's very cool. Section 3, basic tune-up, and they're describing all the motors and how fast these cars are with certain kinds of motors in there. So as we see here, Rev Tuned gives you 29.83 seconds per lap on this track. Atomic Tune gives you 28.11 seconds. Torque Tune gives you 28.42 seconds. Box Stock Motor gives you 35.28. Sprint Dash gives you 29.37. Why is Sprint Dash slower than Atomic Tuned and Torque Tuned? I don't know. Power Dash gives you 26.38. Hyper Dash gives you 26.37. And Light Dash gives you 30.11. So There we go. There's some actual performance characteristics. And remember that every track is different, right? Every track will cause certain behaviors to happen, and so the speeds may vary. So this is just a guideline for this particular track. It's not for every track. Here we have all the motors and where they're ranked in terms of speed. So one section here is speed, and the other section is another thing, probably torque. Okay, and they're trying to tell you to use Neo-Champ batteries rather than alkaline batteries. So rechargeables instead of alkalines for your higher powered motors, like Power Dash. Here are all the motors and their characteristics. And you can see they've actually taken the time to describe what their top speed and torque is and things like that. And looks like there's other performance characteristics too. So it's probably worth scanning this page, Google translating it, and finding out everything that you can about each of these motors. And here are the motor cooling shields. So this is for the older style, the like SFM chassis. This is for the newer ones, like you can use them on, I think, VS chassis and things like that. So these cooling shields, what they do is they dissipate the heat. They lessen the heat in a, like the motor is running hot on a racetrack. So you want to try to allow the motor to stay on a cooler side by using one of these cooling shields. Of course, it adds weight to the car, right? So that's a factor. But besides the cooling shield, the cooling function, it also helps press the motor and its battery contacts more inward so that the batteries get a better contact with the battery contacts. Section 4. Okay, here we're talking about gears now. 4-to-1 gear ratio versus 3.5-to-1, 3.7-to-1, and 4-to-1. And so here they're describing what's going on with like the different gears and I think top speeds. So here, around this ovular track, a 3.5-to-1 gear ratio will give you this kind of, I think this kind of speed. Is that what's going on here? Is it 1.98 seconds maybe? Whereas a 5-to-1 gear ratio would give you 2.34 seconds, something like that. Or is it minutes and they're just running this around multiple times? Don't know. So do a translation on this if you'd like. Yes. And here, the different gear ratios and some sort of angle. I don't know what this is exactly, but this is probably useful too. So do a scan on that. Here are the different gears, the colors. The FMA version has this particular propeller shaft. The AR version has this particular propeller shaft. So FMA propeller shaft, that's going to be a little bit longer than the non-FMA ones, right? So the AR chassis ones will use this, the ones with the green pinion gears on the end, whereas the FMA will have the blue pinion gears on the end. And here's a pinion puller, very useful tool, very expensive for what it is, but well worth it. Next page, you'll see the difference between, on the propeller shaft, a standard pinion versus a lightweight pinion that's on a hollow propeller shaft. So when you buy these two special kits, they come with hollow propeller shafts. And they are lighter weight and can spin faster inside a machine. Here we're talking about fluorine-coated gear shafts. And they even have a fluorine-coated gear shaft set that comes with ball bearings. The different shafts that are available, I think some of these are reinforced shafts versus standard shafts. So here you see a picture of them. So here is the standard steel shaft versus the hollow shaft versus the reinforced shaft. Ball bearings, springs, the different bearings that are available, ball bearings that are available. So you see here, this one's the standard 620. Then we have the plastic palm bearing, and we have the plastic ABS bearing that has a metal core on the inside. So the metal core allows your wheel shaft to spin very easily, very freely inside. This is a very fine way of having these shafts spin inside there. I've actually used these in some of my open class cars and they worked very well, so don't discount these. These are going to be your most expensive options right here. Here we have section 5 on rollers and how to set them. Very cool. This is giving you an overview of how these rollers behave on a track layout, like on the walls of a track. Here we have the different rollers that are available. More roller stuff. plastic rollers, some of them with rubber rings, stabilizer poles, ball stabilizers, 11 millimeter, 15 millimeter stabilizers in a kit. So what's going on here? They're trying to say that the top, it looks like they're trying to say that the top stabilizer should be smaller than the bottom one right here. But this is not always going to be the way, right? Like sometimes you might need a little bit larger stabilizer in the top to successfully navigate a lane changer. So you might need to switch it up a little bit to get that to happen. Section 6 on carbon and FRP stays. So these are all the different plates that are available. There's the item 15150, which are pretty good for SFM chassis, and it's the one that I recently added to my SFM CFM car. It's the bottom plate right there. You can kind of see it poking out. Yeah, very cool. That's the 15150 stay. Here's the sliding dampers, and a lot of people say that the rear one is a lot more useful than the front one. So the front one, not so useful. The rear one you can still use in the front because of the way that things are arranged on a chassis. The rear one actually clears certain things than the front one does. You just flip it around the other way to use. Yeah, very cool. Side stays and side mass dampers. Tire sizes, 24 versus 26 versus 31. Squishy versus super hard tires. Oh look, semi-pneumatic tires, what we talked about before. Offset tires. Notice here we've got a more narrow stance because the point of the tire, the part of the tire that touches the ground, the track, is more towards the inside of the chassis itself. Whereas if we flip the tire around the opposite direction, then the part that meets the track would be on the outer edge, and that would make the car have a wider stance. Different tire wheel combinations, brakes. Useful information on brakes. Wow, cool. More useful information on brakes. Shaving your, or not shaving, but melting lines into your brake right here. That was a very popular thing to do not long ago. Also, wrapping sponge brake around your high mount stabilizer to slow down around corners is a very popular thing to do. Negotiate the lane changer more easily in some cases. Polycarbonate body section. Grease and oil information. Spacers, screws, and things like that. Lock nuts. All right, now we move on to what BMAX is, the rules for BMAX. Also, well, wait, is it called stock class now? I don't know. So yeah, this new terminology just surfaced recently called stock class. And while I was reading the instructions for it, the rules for it, it turns out that it might be BMAX. So yeah, you can give me comments down below on whether you think that's true or not. Maybe it's even more strict than BMAX class. I don't know, but now they're not allowing these things, these dampers. And they really should not have allowed these kinds of dampering systems like ever in Tune class. But people started doing them, and now they're trying to prevent people from doing them by coming up with all these elaborate rules. And so yeah, there you go. Stock class. Stupid names. Okay, so here we go. This is the car that I guess won all these races. And so now this is like an example good car. And you get a parts list of what the person spent to build this. Very cool. Did he start off with an ME chassis? Is that what I'm reading here? I don't know. Maybe. That's pretty cool. So this is a long article here that's describing exactly what this guy did to make this car. It's very cool. And here we have various Tune class builds based on, yes, the Neo VQS, the Rowdy Bull, the Aerovante Special, the Blast Arrow. And we move on to part 3. Part 3. I don't know what's going on here, but we're going to turn the page. Rear anchor. Ah, okay. So we've moved on to open class stuff now. Here we go. Rear anchor. So we're creating a mushroom cap pivot with this. So a previous version of this guide showed exactly how to create a mushroom cap rear pivoting system. And so this is just another version of a pivoting system. And this one has a ball stabilizer on top for whatever reason. Okay, very cool. How to build a pivot bumper. So remember, guys, this is just a basic design, right? So this is just to kind of get you started. This might not be like your end design. This might be like, it'll get you going, right? So you're going to end up building like your own system eventually. And your own system is going to be very, very interesting and cool and different than any system that you've seen before. You just have to experiment and figure out ways of making the system your own. Or you can make your own system and be unique and make something unique. A lot of people just prefer to copy other people's stuff for whatever reason. Body dampening system, the illegal stuff from in Tune class, but you can use it in open class. So remember, open class, you can shape all of these parts yourself and create basically new parts by shaping existing parts. Whereas in so-called stock class or BMAX, you are not supposed to shape anything using drilling or cutting or anything like that. You're supposed to just use the basic part itself. And in general, that means that the car is going to be a little bit heavier because you're using perhaps the same number of parts as your open class car, but you are not shaving anything down, so you've got all that extra weight from all the unnecessary parts of each part. Cool. This looks to be a little bit more advanced than what we had before in the previous guide. That's pretty cool. Yes, the front AT bumper pivoting system. As you see here, they're using rubber bands to hold these parts in place so that these angled parts, they can like bend this way. Ah, a tail damper. That's what they're doing with this. This is a very basic tail damper, guys. So this is like what I consider to be a short stack or short tail damper, which does work, but it's like, and as you see, you can build it off of this scrap part right here, off of your car catcher box. But it's very basic. It's not going to give you the performance characteristics that you really want in the long run. So this will just this will help you learn about tail dampening systems. But what you really want to do is you want to have like a longer tail, and the longer tails will enable you to get that downforce so that you keep the car on the track. So this is not going to do as much. This is like a starter tail damper. Okay, so here is how to build an MS Flex suspension chassis. So here they're telling you to cut the chassis, yep, using a saw, yep. So this saw is about $15 to $20, very low price compared to the awesomeness of it like that it is. And once you saw everything down, you file the stuff, make it look neat, and then there's something that allows you to drill holes, right into these holes that are in the chassis, and then you add springs to it. Where's the springs? Okay, they're still in the hole section. Oh, there's the springs right there. And then when you put this part into the middle section, then it's kind of like a springy kind of thing like that. So that's the suspension, the springs. And here we're just talking about reinforcement methods, right? So reinforcement methods to make sure that your chassis stays rigid. Why is that important? Because without these reinforcement parts, your chassis will crack, your suspension system will break. That's what happened to mine. Please don't run your cars without these reinforcement products that you need to create. You can get them prefabricated for you. Like you can ask somebody who has a milling machine to be able to create an exact, precise thing for you. You can also create them yourself, but it's a little bit harder to do that, more time consuming. But take the time to learn how to do this because it's very important. It will definitely help you with your racing if you create these products yourself. So here we are talking about applying the proper grease to the spring system, the suspension system, so that it gets you the performance characteristics you want. Whether you want like a fast bounce or slow bounce. Now, by bounce I mean the spring action, whether you want it to quickly go boop boop, or you want it to slowly go in and slowly go out. So if you want that slow movement in and out with the springs, you use the extra hard grease. If you want the soft grease, if you use the soft grease, it does a quick bounce. So you want the slow spring. You want the extra hard grease in there. In general, though, just have grease in there. if you don't have an option for extra hard or extra soft grease, make sure you have some sort of grease in there. That's better than nothing. Here is how to build an AT sliding damper. Ooh, there we go. Cut off these parts. I have a lot of these parts. And then, yeah, AT sliding damper. Does it pivot? Let's see. It doesn't have to, right? Because it's rigid like this. It's just bouncing back and forth. Very cool. All right. So, this must be the designer of this car. That's why he's on the cover here, right? Or he's in here in the contents page. Yes. So he probably designed this ME car right here, the Ryzan. I guess this is the story of how he designed this car. And that's it. That's it. And then we got to the end where here it's described, here are the instructions for using this measurement tool. Here's the tool itself. Here's the next to last page. Here's the back cover. And we are done. Yes. So we reviewed here the Super Speed Guide. Yes. The newest one. Yes. So the newest one, as you see here, the yen price is 1,200 yen. It's about $23 or so if you get it off of Tamiya USA. The number of pages of this are about 130 pages, 128, and then there's this extra page that has this tool. The older guide was 1,100 yen, and it also has 128 pages with the extra page for the tool. So same number of pages, 100 more yen, and yeah, there's more in-depth articles on various things in this one. So yes, everybody, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel. You'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you. Bye.